Nobody actually knows why it's called a Jeep. That's not a joke. The US Army never officially named it. The word doesn't appear once in any military technical manual from the entire war. So how did the most famous vehicle in American history get a name that nobody authorized, nobody can fully explain, and that three completely different theories all claim credit for? Why did a magical comic strip animal, a Ford parts code, and old soldier slang all collide on the same word at the same moment in history? And here's what I'll show you at the end. The one man who actually put that name in a newspaper headline. His story changes everything. Welcome to World War II Objects. Every object tells a story. To understand how the Jeep got its name, you first need to understand what the Army actually called it. Picture this. It's 1941. The US Army has just taken delivery of the most capable light vehicle it has ever fielded. 60 horsepower, 65 miles per hour, a 15-gallon tank that could push it 300 miles without stopping. It weighs 2,453 pounds, fits in a glider, climbs almost anything, and the Army's official designation for it is Truck Quarter Ton 4x4 Command Reconnaissance. That's it. That's the name. Truck Quarter Ton. Not exactly something soldiers were going to shout across a muddy North African airstrip at 2 in the morning. By 1942, a military slang dictionary sitting in the Pentagon Library. Words of the Fighting Forces by Clinton A. Sanders defined Jeep as simply a four-wheel drive car of 1/2 to 1 1/2 ton capacity for reconnaissance or other Army duty. No origin, no explanation, as if the word had always been there. But where did it come from? Here's the million-dollar question. If three separate theories all claim credit for the same word, which one is actually true? Here's what most people think they know. Jeep comes from GP for general purpose. The letters slurred together, and a nickname was born. Clean, simple, it even sounds right. Except it's wrong. Ford's military designation GP didn't stand for general purpose at all. The G stood for government. The P was Ford's internal code for a vehicle with an 80-inch wheelbase. That's it. Government, 80-inch wheelbase. Yeah, reconnaissance car. There are no contemporaneous documents using GP to mean general purpose before later attempts to create that explanation after the name had already stuck. It's a backronym, a story invented to explain a word that already existed. Think of it like how HMMWV became Humvee. The nickname came first, from how soldiers actually talked. The official explanation came later, to justify the nickname on paper. So if not GP, then what? A theory 2 points to a yellow animal in a comic strip. On March 16, 1936, 5 years before the first Jeep rolled out of Toledo, cartoonist E.C. Segar introduced Eugene the Jeep in his Thimble Theatre strip, Home of Popeye. Eugene was a magical creature with one defining ability. He could go anywhere, walk through walls, teleport across dimensions, and the only word he ever said was Jeep. Soldiers who grew up reading those Sunday comics recognized something familiar in this little four-wheel machine that could climb anything, ford anything, go anywhere. Theory 3 is older than both. Before 1940, Army slang already used Jeep to describe untested recruits and green equipment. Anything new and unproven. The word was already in the air. All the vehicle did was inherit it. But the story doesn't end there. Because one morning in February 1941, all three of these theories collided on the steps of the US Capitol. Remember that moment I teased at the start? The one man who put Jeep in a newspaper headline? His name was Irving Red Houseman. He was a Willys-Overland test driver, and on February 19, 1941, he loaded a reporter named Catherine Hillier into a prototype and drove it up the stone steps of the United States Capitol. Cold, scraping metal on marble. As a publicity stunt, a crowd gathered. Someone called out, "Hey, mister, what do you call that thing?" Houseman had been testing early prototypes at Camp Holabird in Baltimore. He'd heard soldiers throwing the word around. He liked it because it set Willys apart from the competition. So he turned and said, "It's a Jeep." The next morning, the Washington Daily News ran the headline, "Jeep creeps up Capitol steps." That was the moment. Not a boardroom decision, not a military directive, a test driver, a staircase, and a reporter's notebook. Here's the almost poetic twist. Willys-Overland later tried to trademark the word and claim sole credit for the entire vehicle. The Federal Trade Commission formally ruled against them in 1943, stating the Jeep was developed by the American Bantam Car Company in collaboration with Army officers, and not by Willys alone. The FTC literally ordered Willys to stop saying they created it. The company that claimed the name hadn't even invented the vehicle, and none of that corporate history mattered to the men who actually drove it. War correspondent Ernie Pyle, writing from North Africa in 1943, put it simply, "It did everything. It went everywhere, was as faithful as a dog, as strong as a mule, and as agile as a goat." Over 637,770 of them were built before the war ended. At peak production, one rolled off the line every 90 seconds. Roughly 182,597 were shipped to Allied nations under Lend-Lease. And even the Army brass eventually gave in, with General Eisenhower listing it among the 3 tools that won the war, alongside the C-47 transport and the landing craft. Not a tank, not a rifle, a quarter-ton vehicle with a name nobody officially authorized. The word Jeep never needed approval. It just needed soldiers to say it. That Jeep climbing the Capitol steps in February 1941, the one that gave a name to 600,000 vehicles, it wasn't a military operation. It was a test driver, a staircase, and a crowd asking the right question at the right moment. Now you know it's not just a nickname, it's a borrowed word, a stolen patent, and proof that soldiers name things better than generals do. Thank you for watching WW2 Objects. If you have suggestions, from weapons to field gear to vehicles to rations, drop them in the comments and we'll give you a shout out. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss a story from the battlefield.